everybody. I hope I will have some people joining me soon. So let me know when you get in if you can hear me. Well, shoot, I had a little thing here and now I don't see it. So I guess I won't worry about it. Okay, go away. Finish. Oh, no. Oh, God bless it. Try again. Okay. Am I live? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hi, Vicky. Hi, Gina. Yeah, me and technology not going so well today. Okay. Let me get set up here. Let me see. All right, anyway, so welcome to our oh, good, yes, thank you, Janai. I'm on a different version of Facebook today, and so I was a little unsure if this was all working, and I'm not jacked in with my headset like it was the last time, although I have it here if we end up needing it. So welcome to our second weekly Facebook Live. I'm going to put you in my lap here. I'm doing Facebook Live from a hotel room bed today, so that's kind of fun. So this is our second weekly Facebook Live for women who want to find your joy. And our topic today is give yourself the present of being present. If you can't stay for the full live video, don't worry about it. If you want to share it with a friend later, if you want to watch it another time for some reason, it will be available as a recording, just like our other one was. So, how is everybody today? How's the weather where you are? Is it raining? I am in Puyallup, Washington today and part of tomorrow. My hubby is at an aviation conference. He is a student pilot, and so I came along so that I could actually have a day to catch up on some work and relax, because we live with my in-laws and 5 people in a house gets a little stressful sometimes. So this is a nice day for me to catch up and say hey to you guys, and later on today I think I'm going to take a bubble bath. Oh, cloudy where you are. Okay, yeah, it's actually, I'm looking out the window and it's cloudy here too. It wasn't when we got up this morning. The sky was nice and blue, but it's cold and windy, and I'm hearing we're all going to get lots and lots of rain. What are they calling it? An atmospheric river, I think? Yeah, that's a little, I don't think I've ever heard that term before. Yeah, rain tomorrow. Yeah, I think we're going to get rain here too, and also down in Oregon, which is where we live. Okay, so a little about myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Teresa Morris. I am a full-time psychology student, a mom, a wife, and a self-care coach. Excuse me for being a little out of it this morning. In October 2016, my husband and I moved to Oregon from California, where we had met in high school and lived for, a long time, most of our lives. We moved up to Oregon. We moved in with his parents, planning that we would be able to get new jobs right away. The cost of living is a lot less here in Oregon, and things didn't quite work out the way we planned, and so I went into a fairly deep depression. It took me 7 months to find a job, and after 9 months of that job, I was fired. First time in my life I'd ever lost a job. So that was really difficult. And then in addition to that, I had a betrayal that was really, really painful for me. And so I pretty much completely lost my joy for a brief period there. But honestly, I think it had been coming for a while. So with the help of a therapist, and a really good therapist, and doing some reading and researching on my own, I have been able to find a way to bring my joy back. And so that's why I created the group, Women Who Want to Find Your Joy. And it's been really inspiring to me to see how everybody likes to work together to build each other up and give tips on things that work for them. So, to the topic at hand. I keep losing my notes because my phone keeps going to screensaver. All right. So, what does being present in the present mean to you? Any thoughts? Lenny? Hi, Lenny. To me, being present in the present means that you're not worrying about what happened in the past, and you're not worrying about what might happen in the future, but you're concentrating on what's happening right now. So, for example, and this is easier for me because I have to focus on you guys. I can't sit here and let my mind wander, or nobody's going to watch this video, and it won't be helpful. But there are lots of times where it's really easy for our minds to wander and for us to not be focused on what's happening in that moment. So I wrote a couple of scenarios here, so I thought we could go over them. So for me, being present has been a way to help silence my anxiety because I'm not worrying when I'm present. But it's also a way to enjoy life a lot more. Being present is something that sounds simple. It's a simple idea, but it's difficult to do. It takes a lot of practice. But we're up for the challenge, right? Okay. So the first, one of the major obstacles to being present in the present is worry. We talked about this. Either worry about the future or rehashing the past. Does anybody else have a problem with worry? Yeah, I feel you. I mean, yeah. Being our age and having children, and, I know, Lenny, you made a major move a few years ago. Like I already talked about our major move, having aging parents, not, job uncertainty, all of those things. There's lots of things to worry about, definitely. I still catch myself saying, what if I had done this differently? Or what if the doctor gives me bad news? And, or I'll say to my husband, but what if this? And he always says, don't play what ifs. Don't play what ifs, because I can't answer the question. There's no way to get an answer to the question, what if I had done this differently? Because it's over. And there's no way to answer the question, what if this happens in the future? Yes, you're absolutely right, Janai. I try to focus on what I can change and don't worry about what I can't. That's absolutely great advice, because it doesn't do us any good to worry about the things that we don't have control over. And honestly, most of what we can control is ourselves, hopefully our circumstances to some extent. maybe our pets if we're lucky, and if you have small children, you might have some luck there. But yeah, the best thing we can do is to try to control how we think and act in regards to circumstances. So let's talk about some scenarios and how we can stay present in the moment. So scenario one, you're at dinner or lunch, coffee, whatever, with your friend, or oh yeah, since the fire. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. That was scary for me, just, being in Oregon, feeling helpless, um, for everyone who was there. But I just can't even imagine how it must have been for those of you who were in the middle of it. Um, so I'm glad that you were able to get a positive lesson out of that, because yeah, I just can't imagine how difficult. Okay, so you're at dinner with your significant other, or lunch, or coffee, or whatever, with a friend or family member, and your mind starts drifting, and you're having a really hard time paying attention to what they're saying. Um, and so, any suggestions for how to deal with a scenario like the one that I just mentioned? And yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, Chennai. You can't focus on the damage, only on what you can fix and move on from. I think that's a really good point. That's something I have a hard time dealing with sometimes, in regards to, say, emotional damage. Is you can't focus on that. You have to move on and try to learn and grow. Okay, but let's get back to our scenario. So, has anybody ever had that problem before, where you're out to lunch or dinner, or a friend's come over to your house, or you've gone to theirs, whatever, and you're just having a hard time staying focused on the conversation? Probably because you're worrying. I know that's happened to me before. Um, okay, so some tips. I gotta remember to take my screensaver off, my screen lock off the next time I'm doing this, so I can see my notes. Um, okay, now just as a reminder, I'm not a mental health professional, so if you're dealing with something serious like major depressive disorder, or whatever, um, these tips may or may not work for you. So please use them in conjunction with a therapist and or psychiatrist. Yes, Lynn. Yes, I 100% agree with you. Trying to get ahead of the conversation. Absolutely. So one way to stay present in a one-on-one situation is to concentrate on the person who's talking to you. Yes, that's exactly what happens. We're trying to get ahead of what they're saying, because we know at some point the conversation's going to come back to us, but then we miss out on what's actually happening at that moment. Yes, I 100% agree with you. So one way that the first tip I have on dealing with this type of situation is to clear our heads. And the easiest way to do that is to either take some deep breaths before you meet up, or I've done this before too, excuse yourself to the bathroom for a few minutes. Again, take some deep breaths. Just try to um, set aside any thoughts that are drifting through your head, and then when you come back and sit down, and when the other person is talking, try to not only listen to the words they're saying, but look at their body language, their facial reactions. Try to get an overall feeling. What feeling are you getting from them while they're telling you what's happening? Then when it comes back to you to talk, you can pause for a moment and say, I'm trying to gather my thoughts, or something like that. it's not necessary for us to be 5 steps ahead of the other person. It's not necessary for us to be able to respond the minute that they're done talking. It's more important that the other person feels listened to and cared for or respected. My biggest problem is interrupting, and for the reason that Lynn was talking about, I'm trying to stay 5 steps ahead. I get a thought in my head of something I'm going to want to say when they're done, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget it, so I'll interrupt them in order to blurt what I think is important. But it's probably most important for that person to get out what they're trying to say. So interrupting is very rarely a good idea. I'm not going to say it's never a good idea, but it's probably very rarely a good idea. Okay, let's see. I think we are. Oh, hi, Lynn Pritchett. How are you? Are you in the middle of snow? Okay. So, scenario number 2. You're in a meeting or a class or reading a book, watching a movie, something like that, and your mind starts to wander, either because it's boring or you're tired, or something stressful happened before, or something stressful is going to happen afterwards. Oh, not snowing yet, but you're probably going to get snow, huh? I'm going to assume that you enjoy living in snow since you moved to where there's quite a bit of snow. Okay. So, any ideas on how to be present in this type of situation? You're in a meeting or a class or or a movie, reading a book, even just listening to music. Sometimes your mind just really starts to go and you're not really enjoying it at that time. So any thoughts on how to handle that type of situation? This is slightly off topic, but I have been known to fall asleep in a really boring meeting or class or movie. And this tip the tip I have will probably help keep you from falling asleep also, because it's going to make you more actively engaged in what's happening. Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair, Lynn. Okay, so my tip that I've developed over time is to take notes. Um, and I mean, of course, to some extent, you're going to take notes in a meeting or a class anyway. But I've also noticed that if I'm taking my own personal notes while I'm reading a book, or to a lesser extent watching a movie or something like that, that I really get more out of it. And the reason for this is the ways that we learn. There's people who are auditory, they learn best from listening. People who are really visual, who learn best by seeing something. People who are kinesthetic, means that they get their best knowledge by actively participating in something. So if you're taking notes, you're not only listening to what's happening, you're probably also seeing what's happening, but because you're writing down what's happening, that's one more way that your brain is processing the information, and so it makes things more likely to stick in your head. Then if you are in a meeting or a class, and you've been taking notes, then if somebody asks you a question, you're more likely to be able to respond fairly quickly because you have your notes to look back on. I'll be honest, I even have taken notes in church, and it helps. I'm just going to say it helps. Both of my kids have ADD, and so when my daughter was little, she had a notebook that we would let her draw in during sermons, so that she could stay focused. Sorry to say, a lot of the time she was drawing cartoons and not really paying attention to the sermon. But I think that's how kids are. Um, okay, so that's scenario number 2. Then scenario number 3. You're at a gathering of people you don't know, or a party, or a new job, or a meetup, or something like that. And you may know 1 or 2 people there, but most of those there are new to you. And full transparency, this is probably my least favorite type of situation. I am full on introvert, and it's a that's a very difficult situation for me to be in. So any suggestions on how to deal with this type of situation, of how to be present in the moment in a situation where you may or may not be terrified? Okay, well, one of the things that I have found that works for me is, well, let me say first that one of the most comfortable things to do for most of us in a situation like this is to gravitate towards the people we already know. And that's not a bad idea, especially at the beginning of the event. But if you only hang out with the people that you already know, you're missing out on a lot of new and interesting people and conversations. So one of the things that works for me in a situation like this is to have a brief, like 2 or 3 sentence introduction about myself, and a couple of conversation starters, like, how do you know so and so, the host? Where did you work before this? Something like that. Does anybody else have any tips or conversation starters that work when you first meet somebody that you don't know? Okay, well, if you think of anything later on, I am always looking for new tips, especially on the subject of meeting new people. It's very difficult for me. If people approach me, I'm really friendly, but I have a hard time being the first to approach somebody. So, yeah, that's a really difficult situation for me. And I'm not going to go into the subject of panic attacks right now, but that is another topic we'll probably cover soon, because that is another time where it's nearly impossible to be present in the moment. And I have some really good tips on trying to stay present when all you want to do is escape from whatever situation you're in. So, give me 1 second here. So yeah, I did have a few other scenarios I wanted to touch on, but I think I'll save those for for our next FB Live. I don't like to make these too long, so that people want to have the time to make for them. And also, so the recordings aren't like an hour or something like that. I want to thank everybody who was able to join me today. If you have any questions or comments, please either post them in the group or send me a private message. Feel free to friend me on Facebook if you're not already friends with me. And oh, good, Lynn. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, hugs. Hugs, my friend. It's been a long time. Also, my email, I'm going to put it in the comments, is tmorris@teresamorris.com if you want to email me. And my website is teresamorris.com. If you want to sign up for my newsletter or check out some of my blog posts, a lot of them are on anxiety, gratitude, things like that. So I hope everyone has a great afternoon and rest of your weekend. And as always, please be gentle with yourselves. Bye.